At 12 years old, it's really easy to convince a 12-year-old that you can't get out. And that if you try to get out, I'm going to go and I'm going to do the same thing to your mother and to your sister. And it's going to continue to happen. And so that's what happened to her. And basically what she said, how she got out was she was just drugged out. And she really became unmarketable. Nobody wanted her because she was just this kind of used up, washed out junkie. There's a lot of myths about prostitution. We see movies like Pretty Woman, where Julia Roberts meets this knight in shining armor, and he sweeps her away into this Cinderella-like fairy tale land. If we don't know anything about prostitution, we think that that's really what happens. It looks like they're pretty set up. I mean, they make lots of money. We never really hear about what women really do make in prostitution. But I do because I work with them, have been for over 11 years. And I have never, ever once, and I mean this, out of thousands of women over the last 11 years that I've worked with, seen a woman come out with anything. The only thing she has to show for it is the wounds, the psychological damage, the post-traumatic stress disorder that she'll have to deal with forever. Having a criminal history, not being able to have children because of all the internal damage. This is what a woman makes in prostitution. She'll say, I know I've made thousands over the last 10 years. Where did it go? It went to my pimp or it went to the dope man. She's lucky if she owns the clothes on her back, literally. I think that prostitution is about all women throughout the world. It makes a very clear statement that it's all right to buy, it's all right to sell, and it's all right to trade women and girls.
Imagine that you are so poor that you are forced to leave your family. You are enticed by promises that you can go to a rich country and become a maid or a waitress or maybe a stranger's wife. You find yourself alone in a foreign place. Your passport is taken away. You are threatened, beaten, and raped until you agree to work as a sex slave in order to pay your traffickers for the price of your freedom. Imagine slowly realizing that you will never actually be able to pay off this debt. Sexual slavery is a massive human rights violation that is occurring on a worldwide scale. This is a $7 billion a year industry supported by governments, businessmen, sex tourists, and eager customers. The UN estimates that at least 1 million women and children are trafficked every year to feed the international sex trade.
In order to perform the sex act of prostitution, you have to be able to separate yourself from that act. And that's the same thing that rape victims say, that you can't get involved. You know, you disengage yourself, you black out. You're there, but you're not there.
I remember feeling just degraded, but at the same time not feeling anything at all. He still had the gun. He still had the gun there. And he said, if you get out, and if you turn around, I'll shoot you. And he looked at me, and I was too afraid to look back at him, but he said, you're going to live. You're going to live tonight. It was about 4 or 5 blocks from where I lived, but it was about a block away from a hospital. I remember just like walking, like not wanting to touch myself, to feel my body. I walked into it was like the door automatically opened, and I think I said that I had been raped, and the minute I opened my mouth and I heard my voice come out, it was like my body it was like I started to cry and shake, and I couldn't breathe. And I said, you're going to need to swab my face and my mouth. But at the same time, feeling really just because by saying those words, I basically told her what had happened, and just that the humiliation of that to me was just death. I thought that I saw him everywhere I went. I mean, anybody that had glasses that fit that build, I was, just instantly just terror. I didn't sleep for 3 months. I had to take, the first 2 weeks I took heavy medication. I mean, just to get to sleep, because I just knew my body needed to sleep. Even despite the fact that I was taking all this medication, I would wake up at 5 and just lay there. I've realized over the years that the anger, instead of exploding, has imploded, and it's become depression.
I wasn't prepared for how it would affect my romantic relationships. I wasn't prepared for how it would affect my body image. I wasn't prepared for how it would just affect my self-esteem in so many different ways.
I would say the first 37 years of my life were devoted to recovering from the violence inflicted upon me. That's what I did with my life. One more than another, it was like, how do I wake up every day, get out of this depression, get out of the self-hatred, get out of all the things that act did to me. I don't think women should be spending their lives doing that. I think we have better things to be doing. And I think part of the systematic raping of women is obviously keeping them occupied. If you desecrate women, guess what? They can't create, they can't think, they can't run the country.
Rape is about power and control. This is especially visible in cases of prison rape, where men use sex to dominate, control, and humiliate other men. They even use gender epithets, negative terms aimed at women, to refer to their victims.
In this jail, this is a protected environment. This is a whole new way of jail today. You can't hide somebody in a corner and rape them in here. It's not going to happen. But in other jails, state facilities, it happens to the younger gentlemen. And for that not to happen to you, you go to one inmate, the biggest guy on the block or whatnot, and you become his boy. He'll sell you for a pack of cigarettes. He'll pimp you out for dope. Or he'll just share you with his friends. Most people that get raped are raped by heterosexuals that just want to have sex, and they'll use you as a puppet, a toy. They'll use you, throw you away. The sick thing is, you get a young kid come in to a state system, let's say his first time. He gets gang raped. The kid is so humiliated, he kills himself that night. Not only did they desecrate him, they took his soul.
I live in a community that is 90% African American. Yet on any occasion, I see white men driving through our neighborhood in their Mercedes-Benz and in their Cadillacs, picking women up, picking girls up, asking, do you want a date? These individuals from the suburbs feel like that they have that right to come in our neighborhood and put us on this slave block and to buy our women and our children.
One day, the head of the village came to our house, accompanied by a man in military uniform. They said, Japan is at war. There is a shortage of hands to make clothes for the soldiers. They needed Korean girls. They assured my mother it is not a dangerous place to go, and I would return home when I became old enough to get married. We arrived in Guangdong, China. They took us to offices. They told us to undress. I was terrified. I was trembling and shaking. I ran, but was caught and beaten. Then he raped me. My bottom was ripped, bleeding. Soldiers came and lined up, like soldiers lined up for the canteen. One pulled his pants down, did it, and left. Then another came in. I spent the whole day this way. I was unable to get up afterwards. This torture went on for several years. I was dragged from one place to the other. The liberation came at last. I did come back, although my body was completely demolished beyond repair. I could not bear a child. How could I, after the years of that horrible abuse? My body was destroyed, my soul shattered.
There's a person before you get raped, and there's a person after you get raped. And that person after you get raped is always longing to be that person before. They're always trying to go back to that moment of innocence, but they can't. And so they have to figure out how we're going to put all these pieces of our life back together when someone's literally sat there and destroyed you. You
have no right, especially a child. A child doesn't know what the sexual organ of yours is, and what the hell are you going to expose that to them and confuse their mind that is, so protected? There'll be a time in their life when they learn about that and when they're supposed to learn about that. You've got no right to interrupt that time. No right. For years, they just let these men go, even when they got caught. I don't know if what they do can be corrected, but they shouldn't be allowed to prey on people, on innocent children. Our country has an epidemic going here, and it's got to be nipped in the bud, and people got to become aware of what's going on.
Despite 30 years of legal reform and heavy pressure by women's advocacy groups, rape remains the most underreported crime that we know of. Do we know every time a woman is raped in an abusive marriage? Every time someone is raped on a date? Every time a child is sexually abused? Every time someone is raped in a prison cell or a runaway girl is raped on the streets? Is it millions? Is it tens of millions? How can we possibly know?
It was a really ugly thing that happened, but it's become part of my life. I mean, it's and to hate that part is a sort of equivalent to hating yourself. And I don't want to do that.
I want to join the human race, is what I want to do. I want to stop beating myself up and other human beings for something that happened to me when I was 8 years old until I was a teenager.
As long as we keep prostitution going, as long as there's no one out there advocating and saying we got to end it, we may as well continue to promote rape of all women, of everybody. Women in general, it's okay.
Rape really is a way of sort of killing a person, but then asking them to get up afterwards, right? So it's a way of sort of stealing one's spirit, but you're supposed to somehow keep on going.
There is not a woman in this world who does not face the possibility of being raped and beaten every day of her life. Not a woman in this world. And if people don't I started to perform the vagina monologues, and I first did it in New York, and then I did it around the world at grassroots venues in very small communities where I had access and people had access to me. And after each performance, so many women would line up to tell me how they'd been beaten or raped that I started to have a breakdown and said, either I'm going to stop doing this or I'm going to figure out a way to use the piece to serve women. Because I had that feeling of being a war photographer who's taking pictures of people being beaten and murdered and not intervening on their behalf. So part of the whole process has been getting girls and women to think that it's possible, to actually imagine a world where they weren't subject to possible violation and an attack all the time.
We have the right to say no. We have the right to be taken seriously when we do. Our bodily integrity is to be respected. We have the right to exist in full citizenship without the constant threat of sexual violence hanging over us.
And we had this idea to do a summit of Afghan women from around the world and help convene a summit. So we're basically spreading like an antidote to the virus of violence. And obviously rape, as far as I'm concerned, is the core reality. Our energy should not be spent surviving and recovering. Our energy should be spent creating and remembering and directing and birthing and focusing. And if we were to get back that energy, I know that the planet would be a completely different place.